Alright, today I'm going to be doing typical ESO content creator things and talking about updates in a video game. Listen, you should know how this goes by now, and if you don't, basically whenever there is a big update to this game, I make a video on it, and I talk about everything I believe is important and relevant for you to know going into the update, so that way you don't feel lost when it comes out. This time, we're talking about Update 46, aka the Solstice DLC. This is supposed to be when we get our big, grand yearly chapter release, but that's not exactly the case this year because we have content passes, which I'll talk about in this video as well. We also have subclassing coming to this game, which has humongous, large, gargantuan implications for the future of this game, so yes, I will be talking about that in this video as well. And since we're past the 5-week mark on the PTS, it is time to make a video about this because, well, everything that's on the PTS is going to go live as it is right now on June 2nd for PC and June 18th for consoles. We have a lot of stuff to talk about in this video, so as per usual, I have a Google Doc in front of me with some important stuff to talk about, and then some other topics that I think are mildly important to mention. Pay attention to this one. And, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the Content Pass. I've seen a lot of stuff floating around about how this thing actually works, and yes, it is incredibly complicated. So I'm going to try and clarify it as I understand it. Basically, you have ESO, right? You buy the game and you get access to everything that is considered base game, alright? Next, you have ESO Plus, the subscription service for this game. You get this, you pay monthly for Craft Bag and all previous year's DLCs. So, if you're in 2025 and I have ESO Plus, I get access to all the DLCs from years 2024 and earlier, right? Now, we have the Content Pass. This is replacing what you would normally pay for a yearly chapter release. This will grant you access to the current year's DLC and all associated content that will release alongside it in 2025. You will no longer own this content, however, once 2026 comes around because the pass will then expire, and then that means the only way to access Solstice in 2026 will be through ESO Plus or buying the DLC for a second time, and this time you actually would own it. It's the same thing with the Premium Content Pass, but this pass also would allow you to access all previous year's chapters without needing ESO Plus or to buy the Collector's Edition. You will only own the previous chapters till 2026, however, because the 2025 pass will expire. And yes, I'm saying chapters, not DLC like Dungeon DLC, just chapters, like Necrom and elsewhere. So yeah, in order to actually own Solstice, you have to buy it twice. Long story short, get ESO Plus and regular Content Pass if you want to have full access to ESO. Next interesting thing as it relates to ESO Plus, they're adding this thing called a Furnishing Vault. Basically, this is what it sounds like. You get a coffer that has 500 slots, and it can only store furnishing items. Put this in your house, and you can just store a bunch of furnishings in there. So this way you don't have to clutter up your bank, or, you don't have to go find a big house and then just put furnishings everywhere and have like a junkyard of sorts. This is supposed to try and fix that. But you only get access to this with ESO Plus, and I don't know what will happen if your ESO Plus expires, if you're going to be allowed to keep this in your house, or it'll just disappear and eat all your furnishings. I'm not sure. Yeah, basically you're getting that if you have ESO Plus next patch. The next interesting thing is the Writhing Wall server-wide event. We've never seen anything like this at ESO before, but basically, if you go to Solstice, you'll notice that there's this giant blue wall that divides half of the map. The event will be us trying to take that wall down in order to get access to the second part of our DLC, which will be on the other side of the island. I don't know if this will take place in Update 46 or Update 47, but I do know that participating in it will have, like, unique limited rewards and stuff, and everyone on the server can participate in it, so I don't think you need the Content Pass or ESO Plus to participate in the siege of this wall. But your server will not have access to the second part of the Solstice DLC unless they take this wall down. So we could all collectively agree that we don't have to take this wall down, so that way we don't get the other part of the DLC, but I'm sure there will be plenty of incentives for us to do so, and I'm kind of excited to see how this goes, because we've never had something like it before, but apparently this is very similar to something Fortnite did at some point, which was everyone had to come together to like destroy a map in order to get a new one. I don't know, but according to Grim, also the Content Pass is pretty similar to that as well, so I guess ESO is just trying to become Fortnite. Next, let's talk about... you thought I was going to talk about subclassing. No, I'm going to leave that for later. We're going to talk about the next Vengeance test. I don't know when this next Vengeance test is going to actually take place, but I do know that the next Vengeance test that we're getting for PC is going to include weapon skill lines this time, and the assault and support skill lines for the PvP skill lines. Listen, lots of new skill lines we get to play with Vengeance when it comes out. I'm kind of excited to see where this goes. I don't have any footage of it, though, because it was only available on the PTS for like 3 days for some reason, just to make sure that it actually worked. but I did go on there when it was there, and I very much remember Snipe being incredibly, incredibly powerful in Vengeance, and I'm very excited to use Snipe in Vengeance. Yes, very excited. But yeah, new Vengeance test coming soon. Oh, and you can't subclass in Vengeance from what I've tried, so there will be some perseverance of balance in Vengeance. Alright, now we should talk about subclassing. Coming in Update 46 is the introduction of subclassing. I remember making jokes with my friends in a Discord call a few months ago about how if I could, I would put spec bow on every class for the memes. This is not a joke anymore, we can actually do this now. No, your eyes do not deceive you, I do in fact have Impale and Spec Bow from Nightblade on my Bowsork. Yeah, there are some rules about how subclassing can work. For example, I have to keep at least one of my base class skill lines on my character at all times. So if I'm a Sork, I have to keep at least one of my core class skill lines on the build, so I can't get rid of everything. And another example, I can't have both Assassination and Shadow from Nightblade on my Sorcerer. I can only have one of those skill lines from Nightblade on at a time. If I wanted to have both of those skill lines, I would have to have my base class be a Nightblade and then subclass out one of my skill lines. But that's about it. I mean, if you choose to subclass, sorry. If you want to be competitive next patch, you're going to need the skill points for it, as subclass skill lines and its abilities cost 2 skill points per passive and skill instead of 1 skill point, but you get the whole skill line of whatever you choose. No watered down version of it? Nope, just straight up the skill line as it is on other classes. And yeah, this obviously has some huge implications for the game going forward, and there's already been a lot of discussion about subclassing. If you want my opinion on it, here's the forum post I made on the day we got subclassing on the PTS. My thoughts have not really changed at all, and yes, I actually made a forum post. That is how big this thing is. But we're not here to argue about it, and for the sake of time, I shall now tell you how to unlock subclassing. Unlocking subclassing will be base game, so everyone will have access to it, and it's pretty easy to unlock. You just go to the Crown Store, and then tab over to the Quest Starters, and look for the quest, A Study in Discipline. Then just follow all the arrow markers, and then boom! You could put Spec Bow on any class. Okay, it's not going to be that easy. You'll have to level up the skill lines as you would a normal skill line, but once you do that, you will have it leveled for your entire account. So any of your characters can subclass into that skill line and it will be fully leveled. You just have to level it up once. This goes for every skill line that you want to have access to. That means you got to level up 21 skill lines to level 50 if you want to have all the subclassing possibilities. The system to get skill lines is quite weird, and the easiest way to get access to all the skill lines as soon as possible when the update drops is to have a max leveled character of the class that you want the skill lines from. Reaching level 50 in each of your class skill lines on another class will unlock the class mastery for that skill line, allowing you to subclass into that skill line without needing to spend a subclassing point, which you only get 3 of. It won't be max level, but you won't have to use a subclassing point to unlock it. Subclassing points are for folks that don't have any other characters leveled but still want to get access to subclassing. So say I only play a Nightblade and I do not have any other characters leveled on my account. So if I just have a Nightblade, I can take one of my 3 subclassing points and put it into the skill line that I want to subclass into in order to unlock it and start leveling it. I get 3 of these points. I can only get the subclassing point back after I've maxed out the skill line that I put the point into. So I've subclassed into Stormcalling on Sorcerer from my Nightblade, and now I only have 2 subclassing points. If I wanted my 3rd point back, I would have to max out Stormcalling and get it to level 50, and then the point would be refunded to me and I could put it into another skill line. So yes, everyone can access subclassing in some form or fashion, as it will be base game. So what kind of class changes did they make to try and balance subclassing? Well, they've done quite a few things, but here are the relevant ones. They've changed the scaling of Radiant Oppression, so it scales from a little bit lower health now, and you can also now roll dodge it, which is nice. So no more Zergling spamming Radiant on my forehead and insta-killing me. They've also removed the heal from Hardened Ward, so all you meta hoppers, no more pressing one button and becoming good at the game, okay? And they've removed the separation of no pet builds and pet builds from Daedric Summoning. So if you're not playing a pet build, this skill line is now more or less useless. They're encouraging you to try and subclass it out if you don't want to play a pet build. And they're messing with Warden's Winter's Embrace skill line again. They really don't know what they want to do with this skill line, it seems. They've also nerfed Battle Roar on DK quite substantially. You don't get as much for using an ultimate now. And Undo as an ultimate is still bugged. Can we get a fix for this, please, at some point? I'm sick and tired of this. Goodness gracious. Oh, and you can have 2 spec bows now. Yeah, they let you charge spec bow to 10 stacks now, meaning you can fire 2 spec bows back to back. Guys, we need to talk about Nightblade. I don't think it's doing very good, and honestly, I think we need a 3rd spec bow, let's be real. According to the developer comment, this is strictly a PvE change, so I guess PvP outside of Vengeance is officially an afterthought. I don't know about officially, but this more or less confirms it. So yeah, there were some other minor tweaks to skills and passives, but these were the big important ones that you need to know about. Another interesting thing that they're adding is this thing called the Hero's Return Quest. Basically, this is supposed to be for players that are either new to the game or, you know, old players that are coming back and need a refresher for how to play ESO. They've put the tutorial basically in this on how to do ESO things again, and if you participate in it, you get like daily rewards and stuff for doing it, but I've done this on the PTS just to see what it was like, and you don't really learn much. In fact, I think it was more buggy than actually helpful. So if you actually want to learn how to play ESO and do other things in the game, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and also try and show up for some live streams. That way you can ask questions about the game, and you can get live feedback from me. And if that's not enough, you can also join the Discord. There's a link to that in the description, so if you want a real refresher on how to get back into ESO, come hang out with us on Discord, and don't be afraid to ask any questions. And the last thing we'll talk about before we talk about gear sets is you can now buy tri potions from Cyrodiil merchants. If you go to the Siege merchant, you can actually buy a tri potion from that. You can't trade this. You can't try and resell them. They're bound. They're like the crown pots you get every day from daily rewards and stuff. But you can now buy tri pots in Cyrodiil, which is huge. That is a very important change that you need to know about. Next, let's talk about the new sets coming with the Solstice DLC. We have a bunch of new sets coming with Solstice, but there are only a few sets that are actually noteworthy and worth talking about, so we're going to talk about those. The first set that we're going to talk about is the Light Overland set for Solstice called the Three Queens Wellspring. This set has some potential, but I don't really think it's going to do too well in outperforming something like Wretched Vitality. But if you're looking for strictly max magic recovery, this set will definitely do you very good, and it's very noteworthy. Next, we have the medium overland set from Solstice called Death Dancer. Basically, you get crit chance when you have 50% or more of your stamina, and you get some sustain when you have 50% or less of your stamina. This set is kind of interesting because if you're being pressured a lot, your sustain will be good, and then once you're not being pressured anymore and you're opening up for a fight or you're back on your feet again, you get crit chance, which increases your ability to do damage. This set looks pretty interesting, and I think I can find some very good usages for it on some of my builds. The next set that we're going to talk about is actually a trial set from the new trial, Ocean Cage. This set is called Kazpen's Cruel Singlet, and basically, whenever you deal direct area damage, you place a sword above your enemy, and after 6 seconds, the sword falls on them, and it does damage. This was nerfed in one of the more recent PTS updates. While the tooltip for this is not insane right now, I'm sure at some point this set will be buffed, so I'm keeping an eye on this set. And they also added 3 new mythic items with Solstice, but only one of them is actually worth talking about currently, and it's called Monomyth Reforged. This mythic might as well be meta next patch, because while you're in combat, on your primary bar, so basically your front bar, you gain Major Force and Minor Berserk, but you have Minor Vulnerability up at all times. The Major Force is insane for just a mythic item. And then, while you're in combat, on your back bar, you gain Major Protection and Minor Vitality, but you also get Minor Timidity. Timidity basically drains 1 ultimate from you every second. But Minor Vitality is a incredibly rare buff, and the fact that it just gives it to you while you're on your back bar is insane. And the Major Protection as well, so for Stamsork, you don't need to slot Flare anymore. This mythic is going to be ridiculous next patch, and this is probably going to be a part of our meta. Speaking of meta, let's talk about Null Arca. So Null Arca was a set that I farmed the day it came out a year ago with Gold Road because it was already a phenomenal set. And I've used it on my Bowsork for literally the entire year that it's been out. And this patch is getting buffed again, and it's already been buffed twice. So this is the third time this set has been buffed. And this third buff is giving it 8% more damage and reducing the cooldown of this set by 1 second. You have no idea what this means for this set, do you? Well, let me take you with me as I explain this set the best way I know how. To help you understand exactly what we have our hands on currently, let's go take a look at Callrian's tooltip. In order to understand Callrian's, you need to know that in its prime, everything about it was cut in half when it was nerfed. So the damage was cut in half and the cooldown was cut in half. So now it does half the damage it used to, and it has half the cooldown. So, you know, it goes off a little bit more often, but it has half the damage. We have 1.1k damage, 1.2, let's be generous, 1.2k damage on this set. And this set, I have no armor on, by the way, no armor, no nothing, literally just fully naked. It has a 1.2k tooltip, okay? And a 5-second cooldown. This set, when you had everything built out and you were buffed, you could get 12, 13k procs off of this set. If we go to take a look at Null Arca right now, we have 2.6k damage, okay? And we're gonna round down. We have 2.6k damage. I'm pretty sure that if you add 1.2k and 1.2k together, you get 2.4k. And we're rounding down on Null Arca, okay? Just to be generous. We have a higher tooltip with Null Arca than we did with We have a higher tooltip with Null Arca than we did when Callrian's was in its prime. This set hits harder than old Callrian's and has a 4-second cooldown now. This set is insane. Anything you want to say before everyone else uses this set? I was cool before all of you. That's it. That's all I want to say. I was cool before all of you. So yeah, I was cool before all of you, and this is also not my fault. All right, let's move on to some other noteworthy topics before we wrap up here. The first thing that I want to talk about is they added a new champion point to the green tree that escaped me for like the first week of the PTS that I only discovered after like the first week of the PTS. But basically, filling this out will give you a 50% boost to leveling up skill lines. This is kind of huge, especially with subclassing, because this means you can level up skill lines faster than you should be able to, especially if you're leveling up a secondary character. This new champion point is for sure going to carry some weight when it comes to, you know, power leveling a character now. The next noteworthy thing I want to talk about relates to us gamepad gamers. Basically, if you're using a controller on this game, in the next update, update 46, they're adding something called Gamepad Deadzones to the settings. If you don't know what a dead zone is, it's basically how far you need to push any of your thumbsticks in order for it to start registering input. I'm bringing this up primarily because I ran into 3 instances on the PTS where this bugged out on me, and I tested it to make sure it was the Gamepad Dead Zones by going back to the live server, and it worked fine there. But sometimes, randomly, when I was testing on the PTS, my dead zones would just tweak out, and then I would end up overshooting. I would take my thumb off the thumbstick, and I would still continue steering my character, and I checked to see if it was stick drift, and it wasn't. Like I said, I went to the live server, everything worked fine there, and then I go back to the PTS, and then suddenly it works again. So I guess closing app and opening it again fixes the problem, but do be aware that this is a problem you might encounter if you use controller next patch. I guess just whenever this starts happening, close app and reopen it again. So the last noteworthy thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here is the proposed animation changes that we had for the first 4 weeks of the PTS. They reverted these changes in week 5 of the PTS because they were not going well at all, and they better not bring these animation changes back ever, because not only do I not want to see them again, but I don't want to deal with them again. Basically, these animation changes, and I'm still mentioning them because they're going to try and bring these back at some point, maybe. I hope not, but they removed frames from attack animations and buff animations, and they said that it would not interfere with your ability to light attack weave and cast skills, when in reality, it actually did. You lost frames, meaning the synchronization between skills and global cooldowns was all messed up. Not only that, but it looked incredibly bad. Your character was on some sort of Adderall, constantly tweaking out and jittering all over the place, and then time to time, your character would just shove his arm through his face because he felt like it. Character would be stiff when holding his weapons and tilted 45 degrees to the side. I don't know what was going on there, but the only way you could reasonably test stuff on the PTS without having any problems with your animations or actually missing skills was to be a polymorph, because those retain the old animations that we still have in the game today. The reason I say not to bring these back is because I like the look of our current animations, and I appreciate them more so now that I had to deal with that on the PTS. So please do not bring these animations back, because if you do, I will be very, very upset. I think a lot of other people will be very, very upset, because this is ugly. I don't want this. Look at him. Why? He forgot how to use his weapon. I don't care if it saves memory by reducing a few frames of an attack animation. I want my character to look good while he's fighting. Okay? Please. And yeah, if you're still hanging out at this point in the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're almost at 10k subs, and I want to get there very soon so that way we can do more cool things. And if you have any concerns or questions, please put them in the comments, because yes, it is important we talk about this stuff, because Update 46 is going to be very, very interesting. It'll probably be the Wild West in terms of, you know, gameplay for like 2 months while everyone tries to figure everything out. But once the dust settles, we'll probably have a very stale meta like never before. So, and I sincerely hope that I am wrong about that. Like, I really hope that that is not the case and that this breathes new life into the game. But, considering ESO's previous track records after many, many years of experiencing it, what's the saying? Short-term gain for long-term pain. Wait a minute. I think it's the other way around. But it actually works here, so, whatever. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good